Hello everyone, and welcome back to some Aurora defense. Last time we played the Earth deck, and then this time we're going to give the Flame deck a shot. I'm playing on Ascension 4, even though I unlocked all the way up to 8. I, I have been having a hard time getting this deck to be consistent, especially with like the increased minion HP, I think is one of the bigger ones. This deck already struggles against armored units in specific, so having the armored units also have more HP, I think makes things a lot tougher. And then last time with the Earth deck, I said that the meta progression wasn't too noticeable. I think it's a lot stronger and more noticeable on the Fire deck. The Fire deck is all about having swarms of the most amount of units possible, so having stuff like +1 defense and +1 attack on every single unit is a lot bigger. And then Molten Egg is a huge increase to their output. That will make more sense once I get into like actually explaining the deck and the cards. And then another thing they've changed since last time is there's a lot less overlap in the decks now. They're a lot more specialized to their element. Crystal obviously is supposed to kind of be like a neutral element, so it does have just a little bit of every other deck, sort of. But the Flame and the Earth deck are a lot more specialized now. So the Flame deck's main unit is the Firebird and the Firebird Nest. They're kind of a swarm quantity over quality type of unit. It summons 5 of them from the start, and then they have a very low summon interval as well. 4.5 seconds sounds like a lot, but you're most likely playing the game sped up, so it's faster than... it's a lot faster than it sounds like. And then to pair with these units, the Fire deck also has a hatch mechanic. Every time you play one of these cards, it increases the summon count of all Firebird nests in that range by 1. And then since we have the Molten Egg relic from the meta progression, it's going to increase it by 2. So they have 5 total summons right now, we play the card, and now they can have 7. That's mostly something that matters for the start of the turn, but it helps to just have a big, huge quantity of units right away. I haven't really found any kind of way to, like, stall out long enough to where it could play all of its units, have all of them die, and then it stacks all the way back up to 7 again. There might be some kind of way to do that. So Horn could have a pretty interesting use with this build, but Cheese is just so hard to pass up on. Having a free card every single turn is extremely useful. So one thing I'm going to grab to pair with this is probably... let's see if I want the Pillar of Illusion. I like having some kind of backline unit, so Ruins Workshop or Pillar of Illusion is nice to have. Pillar can also pair with some of the other stuff that I might build into as well. So right now, I just want to get to probably like 6 nests thrown down, and then that way when I'm playing the hatch cards, it's hitting multiple nests at once. You can hit more than 6 at once with a hatch card. I don't remember exactly what the max limit is, but it gets a little bit weird. I don't... yeah, I definitely don't want to throw away... I don't know if this can reroll any of your starting relics, but I don't want it to reroll the cheese relic especially. But yeah, the hatch card gets a little bit weird. Like, if you just look at the AoE circle of it, you would think you should be able to hit 9 if they're in a full box, but it'll hit, like, some corners but not others, so you can't hit the full 9 of them. Oh, we got Rebirth Totems early on, and then another hatch as well. I don't have enough to buy both, and I don't have enough to discard if I buy this, but I think it's worth it. There's a lot of different things that you can pair with these Firebirds. One thing being the Rebirth Totem, another thing being the Phoenix Altar. So I'll explain how that works in just a second. I think I might have got 2 range upgrades on that. Yep, that's fine. I usually only get 1, but I couldn't remember. So the way that the Phoenix Altar works is that every time 60 units die, it spawns one of these Phoenix units. There's going to be a couple different cards that we go for that kind of has that same theme of the more units die, the more it's able to activate. So now that we've got the 6 down, I'm going to stop going for more than that, and I'm going to start actually upgrading them. I can throw down a couple of illusion pillars. I should probably throw them, like, here, I guess. I didn't really build this with, having the sacrificial totem in mind, so it's going to be a little bit awkward to build into that, but I don't think it'll be an issue for stage 1. And then the Pillar of Illusion's mostly just to have some backline units attacking from range, which you could also do with the Ruins Workshop. The Ruins Workshop has small units, which is the same as... one second. It's the same classification as the Firebirds are considered small. And there's a relic where... there's a relic where small units have a much faster summon interval. So you can get a lot of the Phoenix down, and you can get a lot of the Thunder Guards down at the same time. Beer is going to be really, really good with, if we get some certain hatch things down. But I think Torch is just so good. Then let me check on how many... I want to get up to probably around 3 of each card, ideally. So, one of the actually, I think you just start with this on the fire deck, is that Ignite's effect trigger interval is slightly reduced, so having the Torch on top of that is going to make our burn damage do a lot more. Anytime a fire unit damages something, it puts a stacking burn debuff on them, where they'll just take damage over time. So having that stack even more quickly is going to be nice, and it should synergize pretty well with how many units we have hitting everything. Though I think the burn damage actually scales off of the damage of the fire hit that deals it. So I guess quantity isn't always necessary for it. I'm going to take Focus probably next year. This makes it where the hatch cards are just free to use. And then I guess we'll get a free relic. Can't really complain about that one. And then also, one thing about having the Thunder Guards is that they will apply Paralyze to enemies, so you can have your Flame Tower dealing more damage, or you can just make it stun instead. I guess we'll try out the Paralyzation. I think these still count as thunder damage, even though they're the mirror version. They should. Or lightning attack is what I mean. But I'm not honestly sure on that one. Could maybe do something with Echo Wall in this build, but I don't think I'm going to. You'd need a certain hatch card. Or it might be called the Hatchery. It gives you hatch cards every turn. And then Watch Totem might be interesting with this as well. I've just never really felt like it was worth it enough for how much cost you're spending on it, mana-wise, and then for extra spots taken up on the board. So another thing I need to check, this has a 10-second summon interval. This is supposed to, or this decreases the summon speed of all nearby buildings, but I think it has to be... Well, I don't know, these are still classified as a summoner, but it doesn't affect them for some reason. The same way it does for, like, the Firebird nests. So I mentioned this relic earlier, I believe. Summoner summon time for small units, -50%. So with that combined with these rebirth totems, these are going to start spawning insanely fast. Now this is already free anyways, since I got the cheese applied to it. Otherwise I'd be able to focus for a free hatch. I can also focus just for a free wisdom to see what we get there. So it doesn't look like, even though this is summoning small units anyways, it doesn't get applied to the Dragon Wing either. So these might not be nearly as useful as I thought they would be. Let's see, we got Exploding Firebirds for the first upgrade. For the final upgrade, you can either get where they spawn a mirror upon death, or they explode. I don't know if there's really a right or wrong answer for which one's better or not yet. The mirror versions will just allow them to distract enemies a lot longer, but then the exploding ones will deal more damage. They changed this event since last time. I don't know exactly how it was like laid out before, but if you left, then it would always remove a card from your deck. Now you just have the option of you add a random card, or you remove a random card, or if you just leave, there's no consequence now. I don't know if I looked at that card selection or not. Hopefully I did, but sometimes if I click the event first, then I forget about that. Which I need to just make sure I do everything in the same order. So this Summoner Nest right here is actually capped out now. 0.5 is the lowest you can get the summon interval. I really do not want enemies dealing more attack damage, even though by the end they will probably be one-shotting a lot of my Firebirds anyways, but if anything gets to the crystal, I don't want it to be doing extra damage to that. And then it'll also, like, kill the buildings faster and stuff, too. I feel like I'm way ahead this run. Oh, I know why. It's because I got turn 1 cheese. I was gonna say, I feel like I'm really far ahead in terms of how many buildings I have down at this point. Cheese is just so overpowered, especially if you get it this early on, because you can keep, like, saving the extra crystals throughout the run, or just spending more than you would normally. I wouldn't be surprised if cheese is the next thing to get nerfed. Oh, we get Sacrificial Altar as well. This is just gonna basically allow us to turn our huge quantity of units into crystal income. It's not technically income in the sense of like this number here. You get 6 every round, but you get a lot of money out of it, or crystals, I should say. So we can either copy a card or remove a card here. I think I want to copy the Rebirth Totem. I could copy the Sacrificial Altar, but I can't get too greedy with that until if I get like a good setup going throughout the beginning of the round, I can put it down somewhere near like the midway or a little bit later. But I don't want to get too greedy with, oh, I should have used focus with one of those hatches. I just was busy talking. I think I'm actually even going to discard here and see if maybe we can get 1 or 2 more things down. I'm not going to bother with this. I'll save the rest of my crystals. So yeah, I mentioned this last time, but if you don't spend your crystals at the end of a turn, they're carried over. And then also another thing that's going to happen is that once I beat the boss fight, the board is going to fully wipe. So I want to have a buffer of some extra crystals if possible. Oh cool, now we can pick up the Phantom Totem. And then let me take a look at my deck. I can probably just take out Flame Towers. I don't really care about those too heavily. So I think I'd rather get... I wish these would apply at the start of the round, or like, they would just apply like now, rather than when I hit the start round button, because it makes it difficult to see like if I need another one here or not. I think I do need one more there for it to cap or get decently close to the cap, and then I guess I can just like stick one here. It should be good enough. So yeah, it's not always that you'll be able to, like, save up an extra buffer of crystals. Here I'm able to save up a lot more just because cheese has saved us so much cost over the course of the run that I can really comfortably do it here. So now we can get some stuff like temporary cards cost 1 crystal will work with something we can potentially go into, but spell cards costing -1 crystal is also going to work for that too. So the crystal potion's also a really good option, but I think just having lower cost spell cards is going to be more value over the course of the run. So now the next thing I want to look out for with this build is the Flame Portal. And here's exactly why I want to save up extra crystal buffers for the start of the reset. I do at least have a Wisdom card. One thing that's really good about Wizard's Tome is that you get free draws for more cards, basically. How do I want to do this? I don't necessarily really want to get rid of the hatches, or the free Phantom Totem, or the Rebirth Totem, But I guess we can wait on Rebirth Totem. Oh my gosh. This is why I like to have extra crystals saved up. I really wish there was some check to work around this, where you would always start with like at least one summoner. But I don't know. You could say that that's part of the strategy, is building your deck in a way where you're not this heavily weighted on non-summoners, but and then just like saving up crystals like I did. But I don't know. One of the problems right now is that there's not really much of a reason to go for different summoner types. A lot of the focus is just around getting like one specific element or one specific unit being as strong as possible. So like with the turtles in the last episode, their scaling method only applies to turtles. And then like with Hatch, in this case, Hatch only applies to Firebirds, even though we are using the Firebird count to spawn more Phoenixes, so in this case there is a little bit of synergy between the two. And then there's also a little bit of synergy between like some of the Thunder element stuff. But in that case, too, it's just, you're still all stacking one element, and you're not really grabbing too many summoners that way. So I feel like it's pretty easy to get to a deck like this, where you're pretty heavily stacked on non-summoner cards, but that could just be my playstyle, too. Oh, we're gonna end up with 3 Phoenix Altars, and only 2 of these down. So the deck building mechanics do not work the same in this game as a lot of other deck builders that I've played, and that is something I didn't understand when I did the last video. And it's something I'm still kind of experimenting around with to see what works and what doesn't. So in a lot of deck builders, you will have your draw pile and your discard pile, and then your draw pile will only ever reshuffle after you play the entire draw pile, even if it's between like several different turns. So that's kind of how I expected things to work in this game. But in this game, your draw pile fully reshuffles every round. So at the start of every round, I have a chance to get any single one of these. It's not like I've already seen the Firebird nest, so I'm not going to see it until the deck reshuffles. It's going to show up, or it's going to have a chance to show up every single round. So that makes the deck building aspects of, like, do I want a lot of cards? Do I want a lot of duplicates of the same card? Or do I just want to try and remove the deck down to as many to as few cards as possible? And I think there's cases to be made for both things. But in this deck right now, there is a way to basically get infinite money, or I'm going to call it probably like money or mana. If I say either of those, I just mean crystal. The cost that it takes to play your cards. But anyways, there is a way to get infinite money at some point in the build if I get the right cards for it. Which I think I even have the card in my deck, I just have to see it. So in that case, having a higher deck limit is actually going to be useful. Um, this doesn't do anything. I don't have large units. I had a source of paralyze with these mirror units, but I don't know if I'm going to keep them. I'm trying to remember if the Phoenixes are medium. I'm pretty sure they are, and they're going to be a lot of our damage output. So another thing with how the mechanics of the deck building stuff works in this is that if you manage to play your entire draw pile in a single turn, it will not reshuffle. You just cannot play anything else for that turn. So that's an argument of where if you know you can have like a really high income deck, then you want to start going up to more cards instead of less cards. And then here is the way that we're going to get really high income. My building grid is a little bit awkward right now, but I think it's probably fine to just put this here. Since I have to space these out more to get rebirth totems in the middle of them, it's a little bit more awkward to build around. Okay, so how this works, and then... I think I explained the Phoenixes already, but this is my second time trying to record a run. So, in case I didn't explain it yet, certain things... Do I want to try and get like a watch totem or two down? I don't think it's really worth it. I'd rather just use that same space to put a... Oh nice, I can't complain about a free +1 income, though I probably don't need that much. And there's a free sacrificial altar too. But anyways, I don't think it's really... If I have the rebirth totems especially, I would rather just put a rebirth totem in that spot instead of a watch totem. Okay, so this time I'll actually remember to use the focus first. Oh, I maybe should not have put that there, but it should be okay. Because I'm gonna miss out on one Firebird nest. It is very, very difficult to keep up with doing commentary and focusing on all the elements of the game at the same time. But anyways, if you see a card that says Sacrifice on it, you can see that here. Every time 60 units die, it resets, and then one of these Phoenixes are spawned. So that's why the Phoenixes really pair well with the Firebird Nest and the Hatch setup. I'm actually going to even take more hatches now, since I have basically free income for the rest of the run. I probably don't want to go too high on hatch count quite yet, though. Ideally now I start getting more... I start getting more of the Wisdom, I think it's called? Yeah, Wisdom, that lets me draw more cards. If I can get a bunch of these, then I can just keep cycling through my hand. Honestly, too, even if I just get enough income banked up, I don't even need the Wisdom cards, because I can just spend 2 crystals to reroll my hand. Rerolling my hand doesn't work quite the same way, though, as... rerolling my hand doesn't work quite the same way as being able to draw more cards, because I have to sacrifice cards to reroll. Do I not have a certain... I do have the Flame Portal, I just haven't seen it yet. So I've been upgrading the Phantom Totem because the Flame Portals will spawn mirror versions of the units. But I just haven't gotten a Flame Portal yet, in this area at least. Could have had another Firebird Nest and a Hatch, but I don't think I really want to I have the income, but I need more wisdom cards, really, just to be able to shuffle through my deck. And even here, I think I'll put the Rebirth Totem down at least. I think I probably still do wanna... I wanna max this out so I can get the mirror versions from it too. And then, instead of going into more mirror stuff, I'm gonna try and reroll probably a couple times. I should be, yeah, I should be really close to getting that flame portal now. I really want that down. Could maybe... I have 8 cards left, so this will give me a 50-50. I lost the 50-50. Alright, well, we'll just... Do I even have... Hang on. If I do this, I'll go down to 5, and this costs 7. Oh, that is so annoying. How did I get down my draw pile down to 4 cards and still not get the 1 card I needed? Even if I went for it now, I still wouldn't have enough. I'd have to sell something on the field, which is probably taking things a little too far. At least here we can get the mirror version. This one has not been getting hit with any hatches. I don't know if I just put this one down later, or if I've been missing hitting it with hatch somehow. The radius of hatch is a little bit weird. I think I talked about that earlier. Even if you have like a full 3x3 setup, and it looks like all 9 of them are in the radius for hatch, it'll miss corners of it. So that might be what happened there. I just accidentally missed or something. I think it's time to take the Pillar of Illusions out. And I guess I'll keep the Flame Tower first and get rid of these. Ideally, if I have a Flame Altar down, I don't need the Pillar of Illusions anymore. But I guess they are nice for now, since I have a fully upgraded Phantom Tower and nothing to do with it. Hopefully here, we can at least... We can try to just hard reroll for one again. How unlucky can I get? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I'll keep 1 hatch card. That's all I need. I'm not a huge fan of having this exposed like this either. I'd rather it be further back, but that's just sloppy building on my part, so I'll just throw a random Firebird nest in front of it. So you can see, like, here is an example of what I mean. It definitely looks like these circles should be hitting the bottom left one, but it's not right now. And then if you're just even slightly off with the corners and stuff, you can miss one of them. So unfortunately, my weakest one has the ability to spawn mirrors. I think we're kind of like far enough ahead at this point, just due to relic luck and card luck, that I think it'll be okay though. At this point, it might not matter a whole lot. Oh, hang on. Handle's going to be really useful here. Fire units and buildings gain attack, but less area attack radius. We're not really using area attack radius that much anyways, especially like the Firebirds might have it when they explode, but I doubt they have it on their normal attacks. I think the Phoenixes do have a small one, and then the Flame Towers also have one. I could get rid of this and put down one more sacrificial altar, and then I guess we'll just be set on crystals for probably the rest of the run. And now we're going to be hitting the point of where turns are going to start getting really long, because I have so much mana to spend each one. Hopefully they won't be getting too bad. If anything, maybe I just fast forward through them in post. So I kind of started to say it, but I want to fully upgrade one of the Firebird nests in the back, since the ones in the front are more liable to die early on. But I think we kind of just have so much stuff in front of them now that it should be okay to upgrade one in the front. So Rage is another pretty nice card to pick up anytime with this build, especially once you get the Wizard's Tome. It's really low cost, and then since we have such a huge swarm of units, having +2 attack on each of those is going to be really helpful. There's a free Rebirth Totem, but it's not going to hit much at this point. And I think this might already be capped. We'll have to see. I don't know if I really care about attack range too much. Let's go with the HP. I feel like the attack range isn't, it's not too noticeable at just one attack range upgrade, but if you can ever get 2 attack range stacked, then you start to notice a little bit more. But I don't think it's really that helpful overall either way. I think it's usually better just to deal more damage. So yeah, the cap for summon interval is 0.5, and we already hit that even without additional ones. So one enemy, you didn't really get to see it there, because everything died so fast, but there's these enemies that kind of look like big brains. Those are another one of the things that are kind of like the bane of the existence for this build. Since, if I'm gonna get rid of one, I should probably get rid of the backline one. I'm gonna get rid of one of these. We have more than enough crystals, and then also just having another flame portal will give us more crystals anyways, because it's duplicating everything that spawns a unit. I guess I can throw this down, it's free. I could be like discarding too, I guess. I'm not really too concerned with, I'm not too concerned with beating the rest of this area, so I don't want to waste time doing really long turn orders. Once we carry over and reset the board, then we're going to have a very long turn, so you guys will be able to see that. I think I only have one Phoenix Altar at this point, don't I? So the bad thing about like having duplicates of cards instead of just continuing to go down as much as possible is that stuff like Sacrificial Altar and Flame Portal, which seem a lot more rare in selections are going to be hard to get to unless you can just have the high income like I have right now to keep cycling through your deck and discarding when needed. I should get rid of these magic crystals. They're really taking up a lot of deck space right now that I think about it. I guess we can keep upgrading the mirrors. And then... what would I even... I don't even think I need to do anything more. What are you at for count? 23, you're at 29. It's still probably better to increase the backline ones, but I don't think I really need to worry about that too much right now. I don't think these are permanent, but I would have to double check on that. See if they carry over between rounds. So I don't really... if I was doing like the Earth build that I did last time, for example, it gave permanent permanent buffs to turtles, which actually would carry over between rounds. But that is not something that is... that's not something that always is true between some of the different upgrade things. Which I wish they would specify. Like, one of the lightning cards does specify that it's a permanent upgrade, where these don't specify permanent. Okay, let us definitely start getting rid of some of the magic cards. So hatchery is something you can definitely throw into this build as well, but it's not something I really need anymore. It just gives you a free, or it gives you a hatch card at the start of your turn. It's not free in the sense that you have to pay for it, but it's free in the sense that you'll always have it, unless you get like a... there are setups with relics where you can... you're drawing too many cards at the start of your turn that you don't even get those hatches anymore. That is actually a problem I ran into with one run. But usually the hatcheries are pretty consistent for just giving you a source of hatch cards. And then if you have Wizard's Tome, the hatch cards are really cheap to play, and you can throw down a lot of them each turn. I'm still missing one of the things that I would want to synergize with this. But having the Flame Portal combined with the Phoenix Altar is like a very strong starting point for the build. And then if you can either get something like Sacrificial Altar for really high crystal income, or if you can get... there's another sacrifice building that increases the damage of all units based on how many of your units die. That one is extremely powerful with the Firebirds. I'm trying to remember if this applies to Rebirth Totem, because Rebirth Totem does activate at the beginning of battle. Hourglass will also apply to hatcheries, by the way. So if you're going into like the hatchery thing, where you get those early on instead of some of the other flame portals and stuff, then Hourglass is really good with that. I think you could probably also, if you stack Wizard's Tome, where spell cards cost -1 crystal, and then you stack the one where temporary cards cost -1 crystal, you could probably get free hatches out of the hatcheries. That is not something I've managed to get during a run yet, so I haven't seen it, but theoretically it should work. And now we have 84 crystals at the start of this area, so I think we'll be fine. I mean, guess I can still discard these two. I don't really want them. I don't really want this either, but we'll get this down. We'll draw two more, and then if those don't give what I want, I can just discard. We can get this down right away, even though it'd probably be difficult to spend 70 crystal throughout this area. But who knows? I guess I don't need rage that much right now. How many more? I can't draw any more. I can't draw any more wisdom cards, so it doesn't matter. Why am I thinking about this? I have 68 crystals. It doesn't really matter what I do at this point, as long as I keep shuffling through a little bit more of my deck. I can maybe even... What do we have left in the draw pile? One more Firebird Nest. Don't really need Rage. Don't necessarily need another Phoenix Altar either. Well, I was hoping maybe to get one more Firebird Nest and then the rest hatches, but we'll just play the hatches here. We almost got to the point of where we played the entire draw pile. There's a couple of relics that help out with that a lot. There's a relic that, if you draw a spell card, you will draw another card. And if you have that, along with the hatcheries, that's when it makes it where your hatcheries don't really work anymore, because your hand is full way too quickly. It's hard to explain, but it's just something that I ran into during one of my runs. You have to be careful about that with wisdom cards, too. It doesn't tell you what your max hand size limit is, but you can hit a max hand size limit. I don't think I need another sacrificial altar. I mean, we might as well put it down, though. It'll pay for itself very quickly, and then I can just sell it later when I need the room. I guess we'll throw Rage on, we'll put down this free thing. We definitely need the free cards. We don't have enough money as it is. And then hopefully this shouldn't affect the recording at all. I want to check... I'm getting pretty close to an hour in. So I might show one or two more rounds of me just getting things set up so you can see how I do that. But I don't think it's worth showing the entire last area, because it's a lot of more of the same stuff. And a lot of this is going to be dragged on as well of me just having very long turn orders, because I have to spend an insane amount of crystals each turn. I missed... We're not going to talk about that. It is surprisingly easy to accidentally miss the hatch card when you're trying to play quickly. So this is at 2.3, and then it goes down to 1.3. So I can't tell if that's playing double or not with the hourglass. I don't know. I'd have to compare it to like what one did before, if it happened earlier in the video at all. Lightning Shield could be pretty funny with this build too, especially since this, you could pair it with Wizard's Tome to have it be free. Lightning Tome gives all units a shield, and then one thing you can pair with that is... There's a couple of relics where, like, when a shield is broken, you get... Or when a shield is broken, it deals damage to everything around it. And then there's another one where your shield takes one less point of damage. So those would both be pretty useful with this build. There's a lot you can really pair this with. I feel like getting the Rebirth Totem early on was a pretty good high roll, and then getting this cheese at the very start is also something that made this run way stronger than other runs. I have not had a very consistent time with this build, or with this deck in general, and that might just be something that I need to do better with it too. I'll either have runs that are extremely good and don't really struggle outside of maybe 1 or 2 waves throughout the run, or I'll have other runs where I'm just really struggling every certain amount of waves, or then even some runs where even some runs where I'm perfectly fine one wave and then I just suddenly lose the next wave. Which feels like it tends to happen a lot, no matter what deck I'm playing. It's like I'll just be doing really good on one round, and then the next round I'm suddenly I lost. Which I think it probably has something to do with the fact that the waves are a little bit different each time. There's different like types of waves. Like some waves will have armored units. Some waves will have just way higher swarm counts of units, and then there's waves that like reduce defense. I think the waves that this probably struggles with most are the armored waves, and then I talked about it before, but I don't think I actually finished it. There's some brain-looking enemies on some of the waves that will explode when they die in a pretty large AoE, and they will just completely counter the high count of units you begin with. So that's why I like having Rebirth Totem if I can find it. It makes it where even if that initial wave of units is taken out quickly, you can still kind of fall back on the really high spawn rate of these units. So for this last round, I've went a lot more heavy on the flame portals, since I have a way to see them pretty often, and then I have a way to afford them easily. I think it's definitely better just to get more of the Firebird nests, since they're a lot cheaper if you're earlier on in the run, or you don't get this really high income. But I think having the extra portals is nice if you can get them down and afford them. Beer is another thing where you could pair beer with Wizard's Tome and hatcheries and just get a ton of free hatch cards. That's another build you could probably put together. It's not something I've managed to get put together, though. Oh look, another flame portal. I think we start selling a couple of these off. I'm not doing all these turns as efficiently as I could be, and That's something I'm aware of. It's mostly I just don't want to spend like 2 to 5 minutes per round on the recording. I don't think anybody wants to watch that. And then I think this is probably the point at where I will go ahead and jump ahead to just the final wave. Alright, we're either at the boss fight or we're one wave before. I can never remember if you're like here right now or if you go to the next one. So just to be safe, I'm recording now. We did manage to pick up the Vengeance Totem along the way, which is another card I mentioned. Allied units and buildings gain +1 attack for this battle. Every time that... And this is only 20 units, so this will be triggering a lot throughout the fight. And then I'm not going to worry about too much else. Also, we got the Crystal Chalice, which makes it where every 5 crystals you have, you gain 1 extra income. So now, not only do I get a ton of money from this, I just get 20 flat income every round too. It's a shame that there's not a way to convert that income into, like, raw damage or something. The magic deck does have a passive like that, but it stacks at only 10 damage. So it's not something you can really stack that heavily, unfortunately. I still want to mess around with the magic deck next, just so I have a video for each deck. But as you can see, things get really crazy by the end of the run. With this deck, if you get everything set up properly. I don't even know why I'm wasting time with this. I don't think I even need to do anything this turn, but I will anyways. I kind of just want to see the... Oh, this will be fine. Shielding all of those units will be nice. Having a little bit of extra damage, and then... I want my Vengeance Totem, and then I wanted another Flame Portal as well. Might as well just replace that since the run's over anyways. I don't know if I really want to replace these. Probably not. I don't know if these are really worth their cost yet or not, but having just a bonus to mirror attacks when you have so many portals generating mirrors, it has to be pretty useful. The thing is, though, just your income, if you don't have the income building, spending on them probably isn't as worth just getting like more Firebird nests or getting more Rebirth totems, that type of thing. So just as a quick overview of the build, for the Fire deck, their main unit is the Firebird nest, which is kind of quantity over quality. You have hatch cards, which makes it where they can summon more and more units at once, so you eventually get to the point of where they're starting with like 50 units. And then to pair with that, you can throw a lot of interesting things with them, like the Flame Portal makes it where every time a Firebird nest spawns something, or even the Phoenix Altar spawns a unit, each of these Flame Portals will duplicate that unit simultaneously. The mirror units that come out of here deal half the damage and take double damage, but they're still really powerful due to how many are being created. And then you can also get a relic, which makes your mirror units as strong as normal units. There's a couple of things you can pair with mirror units. You can get a relic where mirrored units have just shields instead of HP, and then you can get a couple of relics that interact with shields, like making them explode or make them take less damage. Also, something you can do to power up the mirror units are use the Phantom Totem. they can increase either the attack or HP of the units based on what you pick. And then the Vengeance Totem will let you scale your damage up over the course of the run, or over the course of the round. It resets at each round. But since you're having so many enemies die, you get a huge damage bonus from these. And then the final thing is the Sacrificial Altar. You can use that to get extremely high crystal counts like I did this run. So with that being said, let's go into the last battle. And we'll keep this open so you can see just how much my damage is scaling over the course of the run. I think it started at like 20 damage, and now it's already at 200. And that's being applied to every single of the hundreds of units that we have on the board. If you can get this going properly, it's insane. So Firebird did most of the damage, actually, which I would expect the Phoenixes to outdamage them, but we didn't have a lot of Phoenixes down, I guess. We had more of the Mirror Towers. It'd be interesting if you could see the damage of, like, Firebird and Mirror Firebird. So you could see how much the mirrors were doing as opposed to the regular ones. That's not a big deal. And then, as expected, nothing else really did that much damage because we didn't really use it that often. The Goddess statue can rack up a lot of damage if you manage to get Horn and the Berserker Totem, or whatever it's called, the Sacrificial Totem that stacks damage. Like I said before, that'll just give you a turret with full map range that can also scale really high in damage. If you get Meteor Totems, or Meteor Towers, those also work really well with the damage increase from those Sacrificial Towers. You will need to level the Earth deck for Meteor Towers, though. And then I believe you also need to... Yes, you don't get the Vengeance Totem until level 3 of the Fire deck. So anyways, that'll be the end of that run. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.